So Rajkumar Shukla came to Gandhi and took him to Champaran. And Gandhi, he reached there. So the news of his advent and the nature of his mission spread quickly to Muzaffarpur and to Champaran. Sharecroppers from Champaran began arriving on foot and by conveyance to see their champion. Muzaffarpur lawyers called on Gandhi to brief him. They frequently represented peasants group in court. They told him about their cases and reported the size of their feet. So lawyers had told Gandhi like how they had been taking 30 feet from the farmers, poor farmers, and Gandhi scolded them for this. Gandhi chided the lawyers for collecting big fee from the sharecroppers. He said, "I have come to the conclusion that we should stop going to the law courts. Taking such cases to the courts does not do any good. Where the peasants are so crushed and fear-stricken, law courts are useless. The real relief for them is to be free from fear." So why did Gandhi say that it was useless for going to court? Why did he say that it was useless?
Because the fear of
fear-stricken. So if you are afraid, you may go to war. You won't get any redemption. So the point is that your fearlessness can only redeem you from all your worries or tensions or problems. So first, one should be fearless. So most of the arable land of the Champaran district was divided into large estates owned by Englishmen and worked by Indian tenants. This we explained yesterday. Like what here the extradition of the indigo is coming up. Like how the land of Champaran was divided into agricultural and non-agricultural land was there, and the agricultural land was owned by the English and was worked upon by the English poor farmers. The chief commercial crop was indigo. The landlords compelled all the sharecroppers to plant 3/20 or 15% of their holding with indigo and surrender the entire indigo as rent. This was done by long-term contract. So the poor sharecroppers were asked to grow 15% of their land with indigo, and the complete indigo harvest to be submitted to Britishers. So this had been going on for the last many years as per the long-term contract. Now the landlords learned that Germans had developed synthetic indigo. They thereupon obtained agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation for being released from the 15% of arrangement. Now when Britishers started getting synthetic indigo from the Germans, they wanted the Indian sharecroppers to give them compensation for the indigo. They didn't want Indian indigo now. Instead of Indian indigo crop, they wanted compensation in the form of cash from farmers. The sharecropping arrangement was irksome, irritating to the peasants, and many signed willingly. Those who resisted engaged lawyers. Now there were two kinds of farmers. One who submitted, who agreed with whatever the Britishers kept on saying, because everybody cannot resist. And there were other farmers, those who went to court. Okay, and they engaged lawyers. The landlords hired thugs. Meanwhile, so if the cases went to court against the Britishers, they were very rich, they had money, so they hired the thugs, that is the robbers, or you can say the rascals, the villains, the people, those who might beat the poor farmers and will ask them to do whatever they were asking. So meanwhile, the information about synthetic indigo reached the illiterate peasants who had signed and they wanted their money back. So the farmers, those who had agreed earlier to give money to the Britishers, when they also got to know the reality, like why this was going on. Why was this going on? Because of this synthetic indigo from the German. So when the poor farmers got to know the reason, they also became very angry, and they also asked the Britishers to return them their money. Got it? So at this point, Gandhi arrived in Champaran. Now, at this point, when the farmers were asking the Britishers to return them their money, Gandhi reached in Champaran. Then, at this point, Gandhi arrived in Champaran. He began by trying to get the facts. Underline this line. He began by trying to get the facts. So it's not that Gandhi became emotional, that the farmers were starving, that they were dying, they were being given injustice, and he became emotional and started fighting for the cause of the farmers, that I am with farmers, I stand with farmers. Aisa kuch nahi kiya. Gandhi started going in for facts. He started searching the facts. Now let's see like what facts were those. First, he visited the secretary of the British Landlords Association. Whom did he meet first? The secretary of the British Landlords Association. He met him first. The secretary told him that they could give no information to an outsider. Gandhi answered that he was not an outsider. So that secretary told Gandhi that we cannot give any information to the outsider. Why was Gandhi called an outsider? Because he did not, no, because he was not of Champaran. He had come, he was not the one who belonged to that Bihar. Champaran was in Bihar. So Gandhi was told that you are an outsider, go, we can't give any information to you. Gandhi said, how can I be an outsider? Okay. Then next Gandhi called on British official commissioner of the Tirhut division in which the Champaran district lay. So then Gandhi met the British official commissioner of that Tirhut division in which the Champaran district was there. So the commissioner, Gandhi reports, proceeded to bully me and advised me forthwith to leave Tirhut. When Gandhi went to meet the commissioner of Tirhut division, that commissioner tried to beat him. See the system of that time. And no wonders, same system we are finding nowadays also. So anyways, so he was advised to leave Tirhut. So everywhere, wherever he went in Champaran, he was considered an outsider. So Gandhi had to first assert the right that I am not an outsider. So it's not that he straightway went and started fighting for the farmers. First, he went in for the details. Gandhi did not leave. So Gandhi did not leave. What he did then? Instead, he proceeded to Motihari, the capital of Champaran. Several lawyers accompanied him. At the railway station, a vast multitude greeted Gandhi. He went to a house and using it as headquarters, continued his investigation. So where did he start his investigation? At the headquarters, which he took at Motihari. Motihari was the capital of Champaran. There he started staying in one of the headquarters and there he started doing the investigations of the case. A report came in that a farmer had been maltreated in a village nearby. So Gandhi got to know that some farmer was beaten somewhere nearby. He decided to go and see. The next morning, he started out on the back of an elephant. He had not proceeded far when the police superintendent's messenger overtook him and ordered him to return to town in his carriage. So when he was going to see that injured farmer, the Britishers messenger came and overtook him and told him to leave, to go back to the town that is Motihari. Now Gandhi complied. Gandhi complied means he agreed. He was stopped midway and he was ordered to go back. Gandhi agreed. Gandhi did not, become violent at something very minor. As far as possible, Gandhi remained peaceful. Okay, he complied, he agreed. The messenger drove Gandhi home, where he served him with an official notice to quit Champaran immediately. So Gandhi was stopped midway. Which midway? When he was going to see some injured farmer, the one who had been beaten by the Britishers. When he was going to see him, he was stopped midway and was asked to go to town Motihari. So when he came to the town, when he reached his headquarters, then the same messenger gave him some summon to leave Champaran altogether. See the smartness of the Britishers. First, that British messenger asked him to leave, go back. When Gandhi agreed, when he came to his headquarters, there he was given the order to leave Champaran. Now here Gandhi will take a stand. See, Gandhi signed a receipt for the notice and wrote on it that he would disobey the order. So it is here that Gandhi's disobedience movement will start. Very important point of the chapter. Not only of chapter, of the complete history of India. So when Gandhi was asked to leave Champaran, because he was not the one who belonged to Bihar, then he signed a receipt of the summon and wrote on it that he will disobey the order. Telling the Britishers that also in written, that I will disobey the order was a big thing. But Gandhi wrote because he was fearless.
So in consequence, Gandhi received a summons to appear the court next day. So when he had told the court that he would disobey the order, of course he would be asked by the court to come to court. So he was invited to court. He was given the summons to appear in the court the next morning. So at night, all night, now we will see how the Gandhi will make the strategy to win the battle. Right now, his battle is not to win the justice for farmers. Right now, his battle is to make Britishers listen to him. He has to make his voice reach the authorities. For that, he'll have to appear in the court first. Right now, he'll be appearing in the court not to tell them like what problem he has, but the court will tell him what problem they had from him. And he was ready for that. Got it? So he had signed a receipt stating that he would disobey the order. And in consequence, he was called to court. Okay. And now he was given the summons to appear in the court next day. He had the night with him to prepare for the next planning. Now see his planning. This is what we need to know, like what kind of person Gandhi was. What made him become the father of the nation and the greatest leader of the world. That will, here are the tips. All night, Gandhi remained awake. Puri raat nahi soye. What he did? He telegraphed Rajendra Prasad to come from Bihar with influential friends. Number one, he telegraphed Rajendra Prasad, the very, very prominent lawyer of Bihar of that time. He told him to come to that place, Champaran, along with the other influential lawyers. He sent instructions to ashram. He sent telegrams to his own ashram so that if he's arrested in the court next day, then the work in his ashram should not stop. He wired a full report to the Viceroy of India in order to make the Britishers know like what they are doing, in order to make the things transparent. He even sent a full report of the complete events to the Viceroy of India. Okay. It's not that now, even if he goes to the court and even if he's killed there, it's not that Gandhi will be killed and his movement will stop. He has already given the duty to carry on the movement to Rajendra Prasad. Secondly, the Viceroy of India, that is the main governing body of Indian administration, that person had also been sent a telegram. So when you send a telegram, it becomes an official message, mind it. Nobody can tomorrow say that we didn't know where Gandhi was. Even if the Britishers had planned to kill him silently there, even then they could not do it. I'm telling you like how, how soundproof the things he was always doing. There were some, freedom fighters, those who were killed without letting anyone know like what happened to them. Because there was something you can say missing in the planning the way Gandhi could do. Gandhi was an educated person. He had been a lawyer, he was an advocate. So what he did, he was not only doing to sacrifice, he was not only doing to get freedom, he was also doing the things to go on and on, not to finish himself. Got it? So see his smartness, see his methodology also. So the way he would plan, that was, unimaginable. No one could imagine this kind of workout the way he did at that time. Okay, the morning found the town of Motihari black with peasants. In the morning, the whole Motihari was full of farmers. Means all farmers had come to Motihari. They did not know Gandhi's record in South Africa. No one knew what Gandhi had done in South Africa. Gandhi had already been a champion in South Africa against racial discrimination, but no one in India knew about what Gandhi had done over there. They had merely heard that a Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble with the authorities. The farmers only knew, the poor farmers only knew that the person who had come to help them was in trouble. So that was enough for them to come to help him out. So the point is, the moment you are selfless, the moment you are selflessly doing something for somebody, then you don't have to worry about support. The support will come automatically, isn't it? So what happened then? Their spontaneous demonstration in thousands around the courthouse was the beginning of their liberation from the fear of the British. Underline this line. So their spontaneous demonstration in thousands around the courthouse was the beginning of the liberation from fear of the British. So far the Indians were always afraid of Britishers. That's why this was going on. That's why the farmers were starving. But this was for the first time that the poorest farmer had also come in front of the court to protest against the authorities. So this was for the first time that the farmer had learned to be fearless. So they had got freedom from fear for the first time. Poor farmer. Okay. The officials felt powerless without Gandhi's cooperation. He helped them regulate the crowd and all. So here the officials, the British officials, they were very, they were compelled to ask Gandhi for help. They asked Gandhi to help them in regulating the crowd, and Gandhi did that. Okay, Gandhi told his people, told the poor farmers to be at peace. Yes, he told them to be at peace, and he went inside the court. He did not tell the farmers, like, the moment they will do something wrong to me, you people do this or that. Okay, it's not that. No violence. The whole crowd was settled. Gandhi went inside, and when he went inside the court, then let's see. So the government was baffled. Why were they confused? The prosecutor requested the judge to postpone the trial. Apparently, the authorities wished to consult their superiors. So now he was polite and friendly. Gandhi was polite and friendly. He was giving them concrete proof that their might, hitherto dreaded and unquestioned, could be challenged by Indians. So Gandhi gave a challenge to the Britishers that howsoever powerful they are, but if the Indians would become united and fearless, then they stand nowhere. This Gandhi showed the Britishers. Now the government was very confused. They didn't know what to do. Now they wanted to postpone the trial, but Gandhi protested against the delay. Gandhi said, why are you postponing the trial? Do it now. Got it? So Gandhi protested against the delay. He read a statement. Important lines again, please listen carefully. Gandhi protested against the delay. Remember, let us not forget, like, why has Gandhi been called in the court? Why has he been called in this court? Yes, for disobeying the order. He has been called in the court for disobedience of the law. And now Gandhi is going to tell us why he disobeyed the law. Okay, something which will make him an ethical leader also. The leaders are not the ones those who give orders to their followers to break the nation. The leaders are the ones whose only mission is to make the nation, not break the nation. Make or build. Okay. So the only purpose of Gandhi was to make the nation, not break the nation. He never ordered his people to bring destruction and all. And if he had disobeyed the law, he's telling us why. Let's see this. Very important question. And it happens to be there in the exams in one way or the other. So Gandhi protested against the delay. He read a statement pleading guilty. So what statement did he speak up? The statement about his guilty consciousness. He was involved, he told the court, in a conflict of duties. On one hand, not to set a bad example as a lawbreaker, and on the other hand, to render the humanitarian and national service for which he had come. He disregarded the law. He disregarded the order to leave, not for want of respect for lawful authority, but in obedience to the higher law of our being, the voice of conscience. He asked the penalty due. So this is very important paragraph. Like here he is explaining like why he disobeyed the law. He says that he was caught in a conflict of duties. On one side, he did not want to set a bad example as a lawbreaker. And on the other hand, he wanted to serve humanity and nation. I'm repeating very important line. You can even note it down. You can remember it. So he told the court that he was caught in a conflict of duties. What was a conflict? On one hand, he didn't want to be called as a lawbreaker. And on the other hand, he wanted to serve humanity and national interest. He could do one thing. If he wanted to serve the humanity because the poor farmers were suffering, nation, because his nation was under threat. If the poor farmer is suffering, your nation is under threat. So in order to serve the nation and humanity, he will have to disobey the law. What was the law which he disobeyed? The law was telling him to leave Champaran. And if he would leave Champaran, he will not be able to serve humanity and nation. So in order to serve humanity and nation, he had to be a lawbreaker. Okay, so one thing. So he was caught in a conflict of duties. On one hand, he did not want to set example as a lawbreaker. And on the other hand, he wanted to serve humanity and nation. Got it? Then he says, he disregarded the order to leave, not because he did not know how to respect the order. He disobeyed, not because he did not know how to respect the law, but because he wanted to respect the law of our being, the voice of conscience, because he listened to his voice of conscience. His voice of conscience told him to be more sincere to the law of humanity and nation than to the law which was only meant for his selfish interest at that time. Got it? What was more important for him? Just to be called as a lawful man or to attend to the call of humanity and nation? Call of humanity and nation is more important than just to be labeled as a lawful man. Isn't it? So he said that I chose to have the voice of my conscience. And my voice of conscience told me that I must address my humanity, I must address the cause of my nation and people. So that's why I have disobeyed the law. So he has given a clear description of like why he became disobedient to the law. Otherwise, the critics also say like Gandhi also disobeyed the law. But see, for what cause he disobeyed the law? He was the last person to ever become a disobedient person. Okay. He always told his followers that they must even bear the brunt of the Britishers, but they must not raise voice against them. They must not, become violent. He never ever asked his followers to become violent. Okay. Okay, the magistrate announced that he would announce sentence after 2 hours recess and asked Gandhi to furnish bail for those 120 minutes. So magistrate wanted some time to give judgment and he asked Gandhi to apply for bail for 2 hours. Gandhi refused. The judge released him without bail. So he was getting his things done in his favor in all times because he knew that he was right. He says, I don't want bail. You people give the judgment. And the Britishers were not able to give judgment because of the pressure of the public outside. If they would give the judgment against Gandhi, then public might bring destruction. And if they would release Gandhi without anything, then their prestige was at stake. What to do? Okay, then when the court restarted, the judge said he would not deliver the judgment for several days. Meanwhile, he allowed Gandhi to remain at liberty. So when that case again restarted, when the magistrate reconvened, then Gandhi was released without bail. Okay. Now you are able to understand like why was the judgment not passed? Because of the pressure of the public and moreover, without having consulted their seniors, the magistrate could not give the order. That was then. When the Britishers were ruling India, then the court was not an independent body. The magistrate was under the orders of the senior British officials. Okay. And now we are very lucky, we are very fortunate that we have got our judicial system working on its own. Now the judges don't have to ask the seniors. Seniors mean the government officials to do what or what not to do. Now the facts speak. Okay. Rajinder Prasad, Brij Kishore Babu, Maulana Mazhar ul Haq, and several other prominent lawyers had arrived from Bihar. They conferred with Gandhi. So now afterwards, Gandhi was released. Now the prominent lawyers with Rajinder Prasad, they reached there. Okay. They conferred with Gandhi. What would they do if he was sentenced to prison? Gandhi asked. Now Gandhi was released. But Gandhi asked Rajinder Prasad and other lawyers, like, if I am imprisoned, then what would you do? What do you think the answer would be from the other lawyers? What should be the answer, or what do you think would be the answer? Destruction. The movement will not stop. This is what they should say. Hai na? So let's see what these lawyers told Gandhi. The point is like how Gandhi streamlined the movement of its independence. Otherwise, people had no direction. People didn't know what to do about independence. So Gandhi asked them, like, if I would go to jail, then what would you do? Or what would you have done? What would they do if he was sentenced to prison? Gandhi asked. Why? The senior lawyer replied, they had come to advise and help him. If he went to jail, there would be nobody to advise and they would go home. Got it? What the senior lawyer told Gandhi? Senior lawyer told him, like, sir, we had come here only to advise you and help you. And if you had gone to jail, then we would also go back home. Because we won't have anyone else to guide or to help. So हम क्या करेंगे फिर? आप जेल में तो हम अपने घर में. This was a senior lawyer. The point is, at that time, Indians were without any. They didn't have any. They didn't have any planning. They did not know what to do about India's freedom. It was Gandhi who streamlined the course of independence. And now we people are there to blame him for so many things. Okay, at that time, what the condition of India was, that those freedom fighters only know. And now we people have been breathing the air of independence, and we have found 100 reasons to say so many bad things to him. Okay. Okay, then what about the injustice? Then Gandhi said, what about the injustice to the sharecroppers? Gandhi demanded. So Gandhi said, like, what about these sharecroppers, those who are suffering now? The lawyers, now see, the lawyers withdrew to consult. Rajinder Prasad has recorded the upshot of their consultations. They thought among themselves that Gandhi was totally a stranger, and yet he was prepared to go to prison for the sake of the peasants. If they, on the other hand, being not only the residents of the adjoining districts, but also those who claimed to have served these peasants, should go home, it would be a shameful desertion. So with this question of Gandhi, those lawyers, they were ashamed of themselves. They realized that if Gandhi, being an outsider, can come and help and go to jail for these people, then why can't they do anything for the people of their own state? They lived in the same state and they were doing nothing for the poor farmers, whereas Gandhi had come from the other state and was even ready to go to jail. Shame on them. The other lawyers realized. This is how Gandhi started bringing Indians together. He showed them the light. He showed them the way, like, this is what, he did not lecture them, like, you should do this. He set an example first. Instead of lecturing them, he told them like what he was doing. They accordingly went back to Gandhi and told him that they were ready to follow him into jail. Now see, ab next unki galti dekho, unka dimag. Now they went to Gandhi and told him like, sir, sorry, we said like that. We are ready to go with you to jail. If everybody will go to jail, then who will carry on the process of independence? Yes. And that was actually going on. Okay, so Gandhi, now let's see. The battle of Champaran is won, he exclaimed. Now Gandhi said the battle of Champaran is won. Jeet gaye hum aaj. Why did Gandhi say this? Because the moment you are united, the moment you become fearless, then no one can stop you from winning. This is what Gandhi is saying. Then he took a piece of paper and divided the group into pairs and put down the order in which each pair was to court arrest. So Gandhi, what did Gandhi do when all were ready to go to jail? He picked up a paper and sequenced the lawyers. Like number one, I will go, and in my absence, the next two lawyers will carry on the job of giving justice to farmers. When they will also be arrested, the next two will come. When they will also be arrested, the next two will come. So this way he divided the lawyers for the duties they'll be coming in for. This way all will not go to jail at one time. Okay, the movement will go on, and Britishers will also be shaken. Okay, we'll start this page. I have one more period in your class today.